On November 2nd, 2025, the streaming service MGM Plus premiered the first 2 episodes of its new television series Robin Hood, starring Jack Patton as Robin Hood, Lauren McQueen as Maid Marian, Steve Waddington as the Earl of Huntington, and Sean Bean as the Sheriff of Nottingham. What you're about to hear is just the initial review, more in-the-moment responses after the show has come out from a couple of Robin Hood fans collected from the Into the Greenwood Patreon and related Robin Hood Discord server. These fans have assembled from literally 3 different continents all around the world to just give their initial reviews and responses to the first 2 episodes of this new series. Once the series is complete, a selection of us will probably, no doubt, meet again to give our sort of wrap-up thoughts for this first season of this brand new version of Robin Hood. Ben, I take it you have only watched the first episode so far.
Yes.
All right. Well, we'll start with just discussing the first episode. Remind me where the first episode ends.
With the hanging.
Right. As we all saw coming.
With the anachronistic trapdoor, which also rubbed me the wrong way. That's not how you would have hung somebody at the time.
So what rubbed me the wrong way about that whole bit was we're being told that our Sheriff of Nottingham is a mostly reasonable guy or a kind of reasonable guy, and they've played with this idea of like, oh, like, what about Norman justice? And that means a trial. And the sheriff agreeing to that earlier with the poachers. But then there's no trial for Hugh. Like, they did actually have trials for people. The sheriff didn't just have the right to say, let's hang this guy.
I was so confused that the other guys were still in jail when he got there. And then I went, oh, are they doing like the once a month thing or something? But I was like, these guys are still alive?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I found that a little confusing also. So the idea was that they were out for this big hunt, and Robin shot the one poacher by accident, and that's how they caught them. And I don't know, presumably they were carrying bows or something that actually let you know that they were poachers. Because usually,
the one guy had already killed that deer. It wasn't a deer running through the woods. It was a guy trying to escape from the Great Hunt.
Okay.
And he got shot through the hand into the deer.
Okay.
And that's why his hand was bloody.
That was confusing to me because they were chasing other deer.
Yes.
Okay, so they got caught, and Hugh convinces the sheriff, like, oh, let them have a trial. And apparently, if you have a trial, it can mean a death sentence. If you don't have a trial, it just means maiming.
That doesn't make sense.
Which doesn't make sense.
I'm sure that is not how Norman law works.
And then Hugh didn't turn them in, but they got caught anyway, and that's why they were in prison?
No, he turned them in.
He does send them.
Yeah. So then what was he getting accused of treason for?
The guys before. So not those guys, but at breakfast that day, he's talking about, there were these 6 guys and they were trying to take 2 pheasants to Nottingham to sell right under the sheriff's nose. And I forget Robin's mom's name. She goes,
Joan.
Oh, did you turn them in? And he goes, no, the boy's only, Rob's age. I wouldn't, okay. I just let him go.
They had made such a big deal about the other poachers that when Hugh got arrested, I thought they were talking about those poachers, but then those poachers were arrested, so I was confused. Hi, Will. we're confining our talk
Oh,
to
yeah.
just the first episode for now, because that's all Ben has seen so far.
No problem. No problem. I'll just mute myself while I pour my coffee. The most important thing of the morning.
Yeah, so we're starting with a little. So obviously, it's a very spoilers-filled discussion. We started right in on. So they hanged Robin's dad at the end of the first episode, and a little bit of trying to make sense of that and sort of the anachronisms and the kind of bad presentation of the legal systems at the time to get them to that place. And this is so much my feeling with these first two episodes. It's so much just about they want to have these things happen. Like we need to have Robin's father be murdered by the establishment. Legally killed, legally hanged, to be a incentivizing force for Robin. So everything in the first episode is really just kind of building to this moment that the writers needed to have happen.
I,
Or
I like
wanted
the
to have
idea that
happen.
it's yeah, but at least they're not letting go of it though. Like I liked that like they had Priscilla listening in on those conversations, so it's clearly going to be a thing where it's going to come out at some later point. So it's not done yet. So they're getting people to where they need to go to make the story happen, but at least they're not doing it in a way where it's just sort of thrown out and then they have to deal with it. It's clearly going to have these repercussions over the course of a couple of different episodes. So it's a nice economical way of doing something without washing your hands of it at the same time, which is nice.
And it can be nice to get to spend a little bit of time, with Robin's family and see what was his life like growing up. It's definitely a contrast to the majority of films or even other shows that will just start with, oh, Robin comes back from the Crusades and finds that his father is dead or something like that.
Well, and that's why
Yeah.
I was kind of disappointed with how this first episode ends, because I thought we were building up to uh the ballad bit where it's Robin is, saves the guy at the hanging in Nottingham. And I thought, oh, I see what you're doing, MGM Plus. You're going to have, Robin, save his dad, and now he's doing his Robin Hood stuff, but he has his dad back at camp, showing him the mystical cave and uh kind of playing the I forget which pilot turned movie we watched where was it Will Stutely is Robin's adoptive father and guardian and like mentor.
Oh, I think that was in the Tales of Robin Hood. Yeah.
Yeah, I was excited, like, oh, does as they're escaping, Hugh takes an arrow and he's like, I can't, go out and hang, but I can be like your mentor back at camp. Like, that's a fun twist. Dad's still alive. And then trapdoor, oh no, never mind.
I agree that would be a fun twist. Never occurred to me for a moment they were going to do that. I was surprised it took as long to kill the father as it did.
But Robin stops the hanging at Nottingham. It's in the ballad.
It's good that we got to see him at all, though.
Oh yeah.
Like the 20 minutes or half hours worth of material that we get with a parent is probably more than we've gotten before. There's that whole flashback episode of the BBC Robin Hood, but that's best, let's not talk about that. But episode one really seems to be Hugh is kind of like the main character, really, and then Robin sort of takes over. So it was an interesting way of introducing Rob to us, is to sort of endear him to us through the eyes of his parents, which I thought was really unique, but also really effective because, obviously we're not talking about episode two yet, but as soon as I see Robin, I'm just like, we need to protect this boy. He is our boy. No one do any more bad to our boy. And so it was a really great way of making us care about him if we didn't already, but we have that then paternal instinct as the audience to protect him and see him through whatever he's going through. So yeah, episode one is very much Hugh's story until it's not. So I thought that was very clever.
Hmm. Yeah, which is why it was a natural ending place for that first episode. And it is a rarity to have any adaptations where Robin's parents play a significant role. I think in the Michael Morpurgo Robin of Sherwood young adult novel, Robin's father is blinded. It's a very similar situation to what Ben was talking about, and he goes to Sherwood with them there in that one. Shades of Duncan from Prince of Thieves, only it's his actual father. And then his parents are characters in the Pierce Egan Jr. / Alexander Dumas novels.
Mm. Wonder if that'll be a theme again of bringing back all these questions of, well, where are these people? The anti-Disney thing of let's have only parents.
Right, right. Yeah, I have thoughts about the decided lack of parents. Um, and in particular, mothers. But we'll get more into that discussion with episode 2. Uh, what did you think of the first episode, Rachel?
I think it's better than the second episode. When I rewatched it, I was like, actually, like most of this I'm tracking with okay, and then I don't think it tries to do a lot of setup and then pay it off immediately without a lot of in between. And I think that was what was frustrating me watching the second one. I have mixed feelings about like the fact that we get Kid Robin and Kid Marion because I like it, and actually I like the younger actor better than the older actor Robin. Um, but
I
also
like
it's
that
really
young Marion
fast.
collects frogs. That's her whole deal.
Yeah, yeah, that was nice.
It's funny
Uh,
that they didn't really think about how far they were going to jump ahead in time, where it's like it's been 3 years. And you say, has it been 3 years?
yeah,
They've
Yeah, that was the other thing.
aged 8 years in
so that's a
three
very
years.
weird thing. So we're told right at the beginning that it is 1186 during the reign of King Henry II, and we see Robin and Marion as children. We're never told how old they are. Like charitably, I could say that they're around 12. Um, and then we get a time jump, and they're both young adults. Like one could easily say late teens or so. But this still means it would have to be at least 6 years, which then puts it into the 1190s and the reign of Richard I, but we're told that it's still the reign of Henry II.
Which also
I think it
means
was maybe supposed to be 1186 when they were adults, but that's not what they put on there.
Yeah, they said
I
1186
feel
and
like,
then showed them as children.
yeah, I think
Mm.
which
it would
also
make more
causes a
sense.
problem with the how was Robin born in uh Hunt or Bloxley Huntington Manor if it's been 20 years since the conquest and he's 12.
Oh,
Longer.
it's been
Yeah.
so much longer than the the conquest.
Um,
Well,
120 years.
yeah, it's one of those things where they
20
did
years, yeah.
themselves a disservice by putting a year on it. They should have just said during the reign of Richard II, and then it just wouldn't
Mm.
have raised the issue.
You mean Henry?
Or yeah, sorry, they should have just said during the reign of Henry II, and then there wouldn't have been, that
Mm.
weird disconnect and time jump issue.
Mm. It's that thing of if they didn't put the caption on, there wouldn't be the time jump issue, but like no one would even be talking about it either because there wouldn't even be that mental gymnastics to have to get through. But even having the thing of her Huntington coming back and it's implied that he's gotten the lands of Hugh Locksley as a gift from being in the Crusades, and so we're doing that mental gymnastics of okay, if it's 1186, he's probably one of those Outremer lords that has fled the Holy Land because Saladin's on his way up. So this is before he really takes charge the following year. But if that caption wasn't on there, then we can kind of blur things a little bit more and it wouldn't be an issue. But because there is that very sharp thing
Yeah,
saying this is at this specific time,
right.
then we
You could
kind of
have
have
it
to
be
start.
feel
Yeah,
easier to
toddler
connect to the
things.
First Crusade or something. Um,
Yeah.
but the so where exactly the time jump is landing in the reign of Henry II and all is not the biggest historical faux pas.
Oh boy.
Um, I was very amused by how both Rick and Ben had the same reaction to the first couple of minutes. Um, Ben, you want to
Probably not
share
exactly the same, but
what was your response to how the first episode opens?
so we get past the MGM Plus like ads for other shows, and then the first sentence is, it is 1086, the Normans have brought French and Christianity to England. And I just immediately go into our Discord chat with each other. I'm like, I bet that was a surprise to Edward the Confessor and all those guys just hanging around Lindisfarne for no reason for 200 years. Where it's
Yeah,
Christianity's been here. It's a thing. Like, you can have like paganism in your Robin Hood stuff, but to pretend like didn't, like, Christianity as a thing did not show up until the Normans did. I'm just like, oh, okay, we're just playing real fast and loose with everything here. And
yep.
then we open up with Hugh telling a story of a Viking thane who gets bewitched by some fairies and
With
does
with his
not show
blue
the
war paint
proper.
and everything.
Oh, so a Viking raider wearing Pictish woad. I don't know what's going on here, uh, but
Who's a
more
Saxon
importantly,
thing? Yeah.
yeah, does not show the proper fear of fairies. You see fairies dancing, you run, you get out of there. They will destroy you.
Yeah. I had to I screen capped that first sentence in the introductory text.
Mm.
Many years have passed since the Norman conquest, and England is ruled by Henry II. Norman laws and Christianity have been forced upon the Saxon people, who must pay taxes and give deference to their new masters.
Now, if they
You
wanted to
could have
shift this
even done.
show to be set in the 300s, that would be good. That would be fine.
Yeah, Roman Christianity and law. You know, that'd be fun.
Yeah, are you going to say something, Rachel?
I was gonna say that they even could have done like Norman or like mainland Europe Christianity versus English Christianity, because there were arguments when they came over and they're like, "You're doing it wrong. This is the wrong way to do it." That would be more subtle though, and I don't think they wanted that. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was most of the sounds I was making is every time it like referenced the Saxons being pagan and the Normans being Christian. Like this wasn't a thing.
How
Mm.
they handle religion in this subtle is not the word that comes to mind.
This would get a failing grade in my religion undergrad. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, it's unfortunately not the best start.
Mm.
I
It's like, yeah, the thing that I think is the most frustrating with it is that it's just such a it's because like historical accuracy is, if anyone's talking about like historical accuracy when it comes to historical fiction, I think it's just arbitrary and a bit pedantic because you need to buy into the story. It's fiction
right.
grounded in historicism. But I think the problem here is it's the first sentence that you see in the show is something that pretty much every member of the audience knows is not true by some way. So like we get things like Princess of Thieves, where the opening text says like it's 1185 in the year of Richard the Lionheart. It's like, well, that's wrong, but it doesn't take a lot to sort of imagine we're living in a world where Henry died 4 years early, sort of thing. But this is something that happened 700 years before now, which even people who aren't interested in medieval history know that, the first thing they think of with medieval England is all the churches that they've got there. Like they know that that's just not the case. And so it's
Hmm.
not a problem of like historical accuracy, but it is a problem when it is just this instant mental hurdle that you have to jump every single time it comes up, and it's just this arm between the audience and them accepting what's happening on screen, and it's the first thing they see on screen. So I think that's the biggest problem with it, is that they're kind of setting themselves up to trip instantly before
Right.
anything even happens.
Right, which then gets reinforced by our woad-covered Viking warrior that is meant to be
With the
representative of the
double-edged
noble
bearded
Saxons of the
axe.
past.
Now, Mad Max.
And I think also in addition to that element, um, I think it is made more egregious by how heavy-handed and unbalanced everything is. The Saxon pagans are the ones who get to dance at weddings and have fun and, have reverence for the earth, whereas the Christians are all creepy and terrible. There's some stuff in the second episode we won't get to yet. And it's just what are we doing here? Why do we need to have this as
Yeah,
a
our first
focal point for contention? We can just have
Mm.
feudalism and an oppressive class. We don't also need to have this really weird, unbalanced religious conflict.
Because
our
even
first thing we
without
see
that
our
caption,
our
sorry.
Bishop of Nottingham guy. Very early we see Hugh come and like kiss his ring, and what does he immediately do? He grabs a cloth and like wipes the ring off, and it's just like, this guy sucks. Okay, great.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's a great little
I kept
moment.
asking why there was a bishop there. I was like, what is he doing
Wearing his fancy hat.
here?
Because like if that one caption wasn't there, it kind of wouldn't be a problem. It'd just be a bit heavy-handed and a little much, but it kind of wouldn't be a problem. It's just because the thing that's the problem is the implication that the Norman conquest brought it over. That's
Hmm.
that's the problem. Because if it was just a thing of we don't like these pagans and we want them to be Christian and blah blah blah, it's still not, realistic, but it's just part of the class conflict. The
Right, which is
biggest
closer to
problem
how
with it
Robin of
is,
Sherwood from the 1980s
yeah,
handled it.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that's the counterpoint to all this, is that we've seen this before and it hasn't been a problem. It's been more egregious in the sense that they literally fought Lucifer in one episode, and the sheriff had his, mind scrambled by, Jewish scriptures and things. Like, we've had far more explicit relationships between, religion and the various people practicing it than this. It's just the boldness of trying to get people to accept a world in which Christianity just didn't touch England until the 11th century. That's what the problem is, really.
Which is so late.
It's
It's just,
so late. It's such a strange thing because even people who like,
Iceland is Christianized by this point.
yeah, people who don't know anything about this particular Middle Ages but love like Vikings and stuff, they know that the Vikings loved raiding monasteries in England. It's just so ingrained in people's understanding of what the Middle Ages is, to then be able to put uh change something so significant is completely within their rights. And I don't
Just
think it's such a problem to then, be able to not accept the show on its own merit. But it's a bit like saying, here is Henry the Second and Eleanor of Aquitaine and their son Henry the Fifth. He's off to Agincourt. It's like, well, we know that isn't the case. I can accept it for your historical fiction, but it's a big hurdle to jump.
yeah.
It's also the sort of thing where we could have, like, had they presented it as Robin's dad is just some sort of like weird quasi zealot guy, where it's like he's hung up on this and that's why he lost his house, because everybody was like, dude, that's weird. Like, everybody else has kind of moved on. He's like, the traditions, and like, okay, maybe I can see that. And then, hey, we get that semi-mystical thing, and it's like, and now Robin is brought into like the weird, mystical truths. But then they don't get to show, oh no, all the Anglo-Saxons get together, have their pagan wedding, and have their hand fastening. So we can't even have it be, oh, Hugh was this weird zealot. It's everybody. Or even if they just played it as Hugh is maintaining the like traditional like, hey, this is just like us doing a fair sort of thing. And you could have still had like the bishop be like, no, it's paganism. It's like, no, it's just a harvest festival. And like, even then you could have the Norman bishops be, overbearing and heavy handed, instead of it being, oh no, it's actually we are going to be embracing the power of the fairies to
Mm.
fight the Normans.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. It's a weird take on the dynamic. It's a weird take on both the presentation of the paganism and the presentation of the Christianity, and then having them in conflict. Like I said, it mostly just feels unnecessary. And it
Mm.
so it really surprised me that was so much of a theme.
Mm. Yeah, like the unnecessariness is, I think, the big thing, because the conflict would be the exact same if it wasn't presented in the way that it's presented. Because really, what's it about? It's about these ruling people and the people that they subjugate, and that's the conflict. And anything that you add to that is just adding to it. So you're going to add religion to that, even though, historically they were both Christian. There wasn't that split to begin with by this time, but there was that split of class because it was all hierarchical, right? So no matter what, you've got that inherent class structure there. You don't need to put up these artificial boundaries
Hmm.
of, not even from a historical perspective, but just like within the world of the show. It's just such a homogenous thing where every Norman is Christian and every non-Norman is pagan with a capital P, ill-defined. But everyone of a certain group is in that group, and that's it. And you have to cross from one group to another. There's no I might, be interesting to go later on down the track and see what happens with characters like Tuck and other sorts of
Yeah.
figures who could
We
cross between those boundaries. But
we do know Friar Tuck is in the show. He just
yeah,
doesn't show up in the first two episodes. So we'll
yeah,
see how this changes the dynamic.
yeah. But at the moment, it's either you're one or the other, and you're not both,
Right.
and that's
I also
difficult.
I also ran into the problem where I'm the kind of guy where as soon as I finish watching a historical or quasi-historical thing, I am like trying to do Wikipedia deep dives on everything. And the English, Anglo-Saxon pagan folklore, they're just being up, as far as I can tell. Like I went and was like trying to find anything about Gutta, at the fairy queen, and not there. I couldn't find anything about the Ulrich, the guy she turns into a stag, and I'm just, there's real, like, it's patchy because we lost a lot of it, but you could have at least tried to pull for some real traditions before you got here, and just like we're making stuff up out of whole cloth if we're trying
Mm.
to make that stuff butting heads.
Mm. And that's what's difficult as well, is that one of the reasons why we don't know a whole, like we know a lot about pre-Christian Britain, but one of the reasons why there's that sort of blurring distinction between what was and wasn't a Christian ritual and a pre-Christian British ritual is because they amalgamated and merged. And so you get things like early 20th century scholarship talking about, the May and gathering from the May. That was a pagan thing which continued, and that was what made, Christian authorities angry. It's like, well, no, they didn't. It has its roots in that, but certainly by the, end of the Middle Ages, it was a practice that was firmly Christianized and had
Hmm.
Christian significance. But over the course of 1,000 years, the aesthetics that originally drew from has its roots in, sort of pre-Christian things. But the idea that anything that is not in a church is pagan
Yeah.
is kind of what they're running with, where anything to
This
do with nature is non-Christian. It's like, well, that's just not the way that colonization, for starters, works. It either works by just beating people up or by absorbing people into your world to subjugate them softly, really.
This is a discussion that I basically end up having every year around Halloween, which was, just last week, because there's always a little bit of this panic around like, ooh, people are celebrating this pagan or demonic, holiday. It's not at all a Christian holiday. And it's like, well, there's some notion that Samhain was a pagan holiday. What do we know about it? Absolutely nothing. Every tradition that we have that relates to Halloween, including the name, is fully Christian and is only coming to us from Christian traditions. Is there a possibility that some of it might be based on some earlier pagan beliefs and rituals? Maybe, but not in any substantive way that we actually know about.
Mm. Yeah, there's this quite like reasonable want to decolonize in countries' histories and particularly customs and things and try and pull apart what was and wasn't original. But obviously, when it comes to culture, trying to find anything original is very difficult. But I
Hmm.
think there's a lot of disentangling that needs to happen after the 20th century of things of even just the word pagan. Pagan, you can't be
Yeah.
a pagan because pagan just means non-Christian. It means specifically, non a certain type of Christianity and a certain type of not we. It's not a homogenous concept to be
No.
a pagan. So
I'm reminded of the bit from Forgetting Sarah Marshall where she comments on the guy's tattoos. It's like you've got tattoos from a bunch of just different religions who don't agree with each other about anything, and you just think they're cool. Um,
yeah, and that's kind of the idea I think that they're running with here is that anything that is anything that doesn't resemble aesthetically the sort of Christian moral of going into a building and wearing certain things is
And
going to be latched on as being the, correct or the original form of religion of the world of the Saxons, which is
and that's
obviously
and that's
different
why the
things.
bishop is there. To
Yeah, yeah.
be representative of Christianity exists, and he's got to be dressed like a bishop to be emblematic of
Mm,
the like the specter of Christianity there amongst the Normans.
mm. Yeah, that
I
ever-present
also
thing, that threat.
I wonder. I don't think this show is going to be smart enough to do it, but I wonder if at any point they'll be like, "How dare you colonize us, the Anglo Saxons?" and have somebody who's like Welsh show up and be like, "And how'd you get here? Shut up."
Yeah, that element seems to usually get dropped somehow from these Norman Saxon narratives.
The idea that there was one group of English people and that's it.
Yes,
Mhm.
the Saxons were the original English people.
Yeah.
Nope.
Even the Anglo-Saxons. It's like the what? They weren't a thing.
Who was that King Arthur guy? Who was he fighting against? It was
Yeah.
the Saxons.
I know.
Uh,
I've seen Clive Owen do it.
But apart from all this,
right.
it's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean,
It's just
I
it's that mental hurdle thing. It's like it's such a big hurdle to clear, and you have to do it every 5 minutes. But in the grand scheme of things, it's quite a small thing in the show, which is why it's so annoying because it's like just get rid of it. Because the show itself, very good, I think.
this was my general feeling was there was a lot of like I have quibbles, I have points that I could complain about, but it was like a bunch of this one big hurdle and a bunch of little small things,
Hmm.
but I still enjoyed it. Like the general rating that people on the Discord were giving it of a 7 out of 10, I think is pretty apt.
Hmm.
I did appreciate it showing young Robin going out into the woods and just like he had a fight with his dad, and so he's I'm a teenager. I'm just gonna shoot my bow until my fingers bleed. And hey, he starts getting better, and then it goes to adult Robin, although we don't, I think, see adult Robin's arrows hitting the tree. I believe we're getting the sound effect of him doing better. And so it's showing like, hey, this is the kind of thing where he's been practicing this for years. He's been living in the woods. He's got the skills to do this, which I appreciated as, an antithesis to, especially when it's our I've lost my title and lordship Robin, where it's like, and why is he any good in the forest? Well, this Robin has been living in the forest for a long time. He's been shooting the bow constantly for years. And then we get our fun hunt scene, which I also appreciate. While they're chasing this herd of deer, they're shooting a lot of arrows. Only one hits. And that happens to be Robin's. But, he is not a supernaturally gifted marksman. He's just pretty gosh darn good.
Yeah. And that is really, it's not much of a spoiler to say that continues a lot in the second episode as well. He's not ever portrayed as being preternaturally good, just very good and somebody who practices a lot and works out his feelings through practicing archery. It's very much part of his identity, and I think that is pretty cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's good that he's not a hero in that sense, because I think it's just the problem is with like Robin Hoods, because people always complain about any new Robin Hood, even if it's good, they complain about it because it's just not the one that they remember. But I think it's so easy. One of the reasons why that's pretty valid is because he just sort of comes up fully formed, even in something like Prince of Thieves. His transformation from this bratty little kid to a man who is a good person and has, a moral compass has happened off screen, and we sort of meet him right, 2 minutes after that has happened, sort of thing, where he's fully formed and he goes through, different things in the journey. But at the end of the day, he's like the hero straight away. And it's really difficult to tell a full story in film, but even in like TV series, like the BBC show, which is great. It's a really great flawed Robin, but he's not necessarily someone who isn't Robin Hood instantly because he does a backflip off that barn. Like he's the hero.
Yeah.
Of the show.
Even before that, he like shoots a bunch of arrows up into the air and they all like land splayed between somebody's fingers, just ridiculous superhuman feats of archery in the first 3 minutes of the show.
Yeah. But then with this show, when we get to adult Robin, which is going to be the Robin that we have for the whole show, we get him, arguing with his parents in French because his mum's teaching him French. And we get him, meet his cousin, and we get him dancing. You see him do these non-martial things or non-athletic things. So we get to see him as a real person before any sort of typical Robin Hood outlaw action stuff starts to kick off. And it's just so minor. Like it's probably like 5-10 minutes worth of screen time, but just taking that time to show him as a normal guy has endeared him more than many, many different Robins, because you're not having to accept him as the hero of the story instantly. You get to see why he is and that he could be. You don't have to just blindly accept that he's the guy whose name is on the title card.
In that same vein, I'm so excited for episode 2 and on because I'm excited for Will Scarlet, who we are introduced to in this episode as Robin's cousin, who is at a wedding for his first girlfriend, and he proceeds to get drunk and try to cut in and get beat up by the groom. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're setting a tone for this guy.
I am looking forward to seeing more of this Will Scarlet.
Yeah, this is the guy who's going to make some mistakes, but like no lack of courage.
Yeah. So Rachel, you indicated earlier you did not think much of our Robin.
I didn't say that.
Was it the actor or the character?
The actor is not quite working for me so far. I think part of it was when they did the time shift, I couldn't tell how old he was supposed to be. He seems to be like doing like teenager, and I'm like, you look 27 or something. Like, why are you acting like like this? So that was when I rewatched it. It's like, I think this is maybe where I started off feeling weird about it, because I felt like he was trying to act much younger than he looks to me. But yeah.
Does anybody know how old Jack Patton is? I've been kind of assuming
No
he's in
idea.
his early
not
20s.
on Wikipedia.
I have no
Oh,
idea. He just
I
looks
think
old
he's
to me.
mid 20s because he was such a specific reference, but he was in the AFL Academy about 10 years ago, so he would have been about 17, 16, 17.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Mid
So
20s seems about right.
he'd be about 27, 28 now. Yeah.
I've been assuming that him and Marion are supposed to be around 17 to 19. And it's like clearly they're a little older, but I can still buy it.
Well, it's funny if you look at any other guys who are currently in the AFL Academy, these big athletes who are 17, 18, they look like he looks. So I can buy him being 10 years, acting 10 years younger than he is, because he does look very, yeah, very athletic and very sporty
It's
with
not
my Australian eye.
Yeah, it's not as egregious as John Travolta in Grease.
No, that spring chicken, yeah.
Or Stockard Channing, who I think was 34 or something.
It's
people
also
who
his
actually
first
remembered the 50s.
It's also his first job as well, like a first big job, because he's done a few short films. There's one that I've managed to find, which is on YouTube, where it's just like a conversation between him and he plays a chef, and it's a conversation between him and another chef as they're closing up, and they get into a fight, and that's like a student film sort of thing. He's in an episode. They just started NCIS Sydney for some reason, so the American NCIS is infiltrating Sydney Harbour. But he's done an episode of that, so he's like just starting on his career. So I think I'm just sort of happy that he's Australian
Yeah.
and he's doing well. But with that in mind, I thought he was really good. I thought like there's this wonderful little idiosyncrasy that Errol Flynn does in his Robin Hood, where he's got the deer on his shoulder, and when he's walking past the guards, and he sort of like gives a shoulder to the guard with the deer, and I'm just
Hmm.
thinking that's such a Errol Flynn thing. Like it's clearly not in the script that he shoulders the guard, but it's just one of those tiny little things, and I see sprinkles of that with this Robin as well. Like when he's saying to his mum, "Well, I'll just go outside with my Norman tongue," and he does this little thing where he like looks down his face at her like he's sort of being sarcastic. And it's just these little tiny things that I think are just very Western Sydney of him to drop into his character. So, yeah, I thought he did. I thought he was doing a really good job of getting us to believe him as a real person. Um, on top of having to do all of this big, romantic stuff and being clearly narratively the guy who's going to follow after Hugh's death. He's going to be the guy who carries it all. I think he did a good job of making him feel like a real person, and maybe he's probably a bit more subdued in some parts because of that. But I thought he was, yeah, very believable as a person that you would know more than the person who is the star of a TV show.
I also appreciated that he had to that kind of point that he had these sort of moments of awkwardness that felt very real, like when he serves the horn of Forester's wine um to the sheriff of Nottingham, or some of the moments where he's like giving looks over to Marion, where there was just an awkwardness to it that felt very real. Like, oh, you are this very common person who has not been brought up around the courtly Normans, and you're being, told to go serve these lords a drink and speak to them, and the kind of stuttering awkwardness that he had, it felt like the sort of thing I could imagine a teenager kind of being thrust into that situation, being like,
Also, him broodingly staring at his old house. Well, everyone can see him, even though we know he has the ability to be like hidden in the forest. uh, because after the hunt, he goes back to his house, and everybody's just like, "Why is that dude staring at us from the woods?"
And then he goes again.
Yeah.
He keeps going back.
uh, so before we get to the second episode, any general thoughts about this sort of backstory for Robin as somebody who is dispossessed? Like, as a young child, his father was a minor lord, um, but his lands have been taken away from him as a reward to this Lord Huntington for having served in the Crusades. And there's the implication that his father would be given the lands back if he became Christian. Not sure how
Mm.
exactly that dynamic was going to work, but certainly he was being presented as a rival claimant for his own lands. Um, that was uh,
Mm.
making the current resident, the Lord Huntington, who is Marion's father, be anxious about this potential rivalry. And the sheriff said something at some point about how, like, oh, if you just forsake your pagan ways, if you get
Well,
baptized.
so he says that other so he was like, but other Saxons were given their lands back. It's like, yeah, they became, they converted to Christianity, which was sort of a dig at like, yeah, they weren't jerks about it, and you're just being an a-hole. Dillweeds don't get their lands back, you. Uh,
Mm.
And so it means we have a Robin who has a noble heritage, but from a young age on has only known a life in more humble upbringings, kind of in this cottage in the woods with a father who's a forester. He is taught to read and write and speak French by his mother, um, who presumably also had a noble upbringing, which relates to how she got together with his father when he was still a nobleman, presumably. We're not shown a lot about that.
It'd be
But
interesting to know whether she was a Norman who then joined them rather than someone who just knows French.
yeah, I was wondering if I missed something or if it was ambiguous.
Yeah. I think it's mentioned where she got her, like, whether it's education or whether it's just language. It's hard to tell, but it'd be interesting to know whether she was, because she seemed to be a little, maybe it's just because Hugh's a bit hot-headed and she's not, but there seemed to be quite a distinction between the two of them. And if they're going down the route of um the other thing with the Christian and Norman thing being such a, the Norman Saxon thing being such a conflict is like, well, how are you going to resolve this? Whether it's at the end of the season or if it gets a couple of seasons at the finale, like how is this going to be ultimately resolved if it is so intense? So it'd be
Hmm.
interesting if they decide to personify that reconciliation in Robin or in Marion or something by have his parents be like one of each sort of thing. But yeah, where she got that element from would be interesting to know.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Isn't she the one that's related to the Gambles?
related to who?
I thought the uncle.
The Gamwells. So was that on her
Yeah,
side?
yeah, Gamwell is
That's
her
totally
brother.
fine after rewatching it.
Mm,
Yeah, I was
The way
not
that
certain.
he greeted her at the wedding, I was curious about that. Which side he's supposed to be on?
mm. Because there's a note
Because
about that,
he's
but
Saxon.
that's an
He
episode
specifically
two
says that.
note. So we might
all right.
maybe have to
Well,
wait before we say it.
then I can hop off. I'm excited to. I will say I'm excited to watch the second episode, and I'm excited to hear everybody else's discussion about it after I've done that.
Yeah. All right.
Enjoy.
Enjoy the second episode.
I will. Everybody have a good night/morning.
Yeah.
Bye.
I do like that Robin is being raised, regardless of him having this parentage and presume and coming from some aristocratic background. What I do like that he is raised basically as a commoner. I like that as a background for Robin. I think it is
Mhm.
easier
Mm,
to accept him as a quote unquote hero of the people if he is actually of the people.
mm. And shown to be one as well, rather than just being told that he is a normal guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, so the note about the Gamwells is there's that line of the sheriff's where it's like if you become Christian, then there's a chance you can get your land back. And when we watched it, we were assuming that Gamma was one of those people because he's got his house and I think it's not Will's mum, but it might be. It was a bit unclear whether it was
The
Gamwell's
second
current
wife.
wife. Yeah, his second wife who
Yeah.
Hmm.
crosses herself during
Yeah.
Robin's mum's funeral. So we took that to mean that Gamwell has converted just so that he can keep his house.
I think that is
Or
the implication. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So in that sense, you've got
I was
yeah.
still just wondering if he was related to or if he was related to Joan.
Yeah, I
He
think
was
it's supposed to be that he's her brother.
So they
Jones.
would both be
Jones.
Saxon. And
Yeah,
Mm,
then that would make her be a Saxon. Yeah.
yeah.
mm.
That makes sense. It was not very
It's
clear.
not a problem or anything. I was just,
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't a big deal. I and in the second episode, clearly when she's grieving and ill, he takes her in, which would make sense either as his brother's
Mm,
widow or as his sister who was widowed.
mhm.
Like either way
mm,
it worked. And I loved this, like, so I actually really liked a lot of the stuff in the second episode. I liked him and his mother going to live with the Gamwells. I liked
Mhm.
kind of setting up that as this sort of secondary extended family dynamic to what Will was saying earlier about Rob seeing human. I liked that he was coming across as this impulsive, angry young man trying to deal with his grief in this episode. He's very much not Robin Hood yet, but he is the young man who is hopefully on the path to becoming him.
mm.
I really like the
Yeah.
Gamwells a lot. And I like that they're related to him.
Yeah.
Like Will is like this explicitly a cousin. I'm like, yes.
It's a really nice, Robin Hood lore nod. Having
Mm,
Gamwell
Hmm.
Hall, having, Robin's uncle be the Lord of Gamwell, having Will be his cousin,
mm,
some relation. Yeah, that was all very nice.
Yeah, you've got things like episode one, Christianity's been in England for 100 years. You just think, why? But then episode two, you've got, hey, you remember that ballad Robin Hood newly revived? We're doing it. You've got Robin Hood's progress to Nottingham. We're doing it. So like it
Yeah.
kind of with one hand it takes, it gives so
Let's
much
let's
more.
capstone this discussion with the Robin Hood's progress to Nottingham part.
Yeah. That
Uh,
was just such a silly little thing, but like when he's walking down the road and you hear voices, it's just oh, I know what that is. It feel now I know what it's like to be like a deep Marvel fan when like someone turns up wearing a certain type of costume. You think, no way.
yeah, you do the point and you're like, I know. Okay. Yeah,
Like it's
so
that, it's this thing. And my wife was like, what's happening?
right. So for anyone who doesn't know, because I am going to release the recording, there is a ballad, Robin Hood's Progress to Nottingham. Will, do you know when that ballad was written? I know it's amongst the
Oh,
child ballads. I've been
yeah,
assuming it's like a 17th or 18th century.
yeah, very broadly early mid 17th. Yeah.
Yeah, and in it, it creates this origin story for how Robin Hood becomes an outlaw, where he, as a young man, is on his way to Nottingham Fair to shoot in an archery contest. And along the way, he meets some foresters. They kind of make fun of him as this like yokel with his bow out to on his way to the fair. And they basically goad him into shooting one of the king's deer, and this results in a fight in which in the ballad he like kills 20 of them or something, right? It's been a while since I've read it.
Yeah, in the battle they just argue about payment. Robin kills them all. There's one who's left alive, and there's this very 90s thing where he steps over him, laughs, and shoots him
Yeah,
dead.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
it's
the
very
ballad is
gory.
really brutal. um but that idea got picked up by Howard Pyle in 1883 with his Merry Adventures of Robin Hood, and he makes it is a much more reasonable. They do fight over um getting paid or not, but eventually just like tell him to scram. Like, you just
Mm.
killed a king's deer. We're not going to pay you. Get out of here. But one of the foresters, the one who was mostly goading him, is also drunk and tries to shoot at him. And Robin like responds by shooting back and then killing him, and then runs into the forest, is now an outlaw, and kind of regrets it for the rest of the book that he killed this
Mm.
guy. And I've always really liked that as a way to have Robin become an outlaw. And especially the
Mm.
way Howard Pyle does it, not so much in the ballad version. And that's a version that got picked up in some other novels. And Rachel, I believe you were saying that you've seen that show up in a lot of kids' books.
Hmm. Yeah.
Probably,
Several times.
very influenced by Pyle. But
Yeah.
this is the first time I have ever seen it adapted on film, television, movies,
And they did it good too.
and it was very
Mm.
similar to how it was done in Pyle. As Will was saying, like you see him, he's with his bow, he's on the road, on his way to an archery contest, and you hear these voices in the forest, and then you're just like, oh my gosh, they're doing
It's happening.
it.
Yeah. But even little things like they pick on him for his bow as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's yeah, really, really good. But I like also
And
that
I've
scene.
actually thought, oh, sorry.
No, no, you go.
Um, I also thought when I was watching it again last night, because the first time I was just really excited that it was happening. But I thought they tied it in well with the other stuff that they have going on in their show, like with Huntington and stuff like that, where
Mm.
I just I can't think of specifics now, but where the guard was like, "Oh, I shouldn't have messed with you," because like the sheriff's upset about the whole Loxley thing, and I just thought that was
Hmm.
nice that it tied in well with that as well as being a good
Yeah.
representation of that story.
Yeah. Like as far as like this conversation goes, it's like it's like that thing of we may have harped on about the Catholicism thing, the Christianity thing, I should say, a lot because it is this massive, big, weight at the end of most of what's going on in the show. But it's really well thought out in terms of how all these things relate to each other. Nothing happens arbitrarily. So even though they're thinking like, well, we need to get Robin to be motivated, so we'll kill his dad, but we'll make a really uh, understandable and logical progression of how it gets there. It might happen within the course of one episode, but at least it all happens for a reason. And that's what I really liked about the Robin Hood's progress to Nottingham scene, as it will now be known, is because um, it's specifically that guard who is, well, Priscilla's been using
Yes.
for sex. I really love Priscilla. We can talk about Priscilla all day, but the idea that she's not in a relationship with this guard, she's using the guard for sex, and anytime that he tries to get control of her, she's like, no, 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 this isn't about you. This is about me. And the
Sex and
sheriff
power
clearly,
plays. Yeah.
yeah, it's really, really great.
Yeah.
And the
Priscilla
sheriff
being the sheriff's
clearly,
daughter. Yeah. Yeah.
yes, yes, Priscilla, the sheriff's daughter. And the sheriff clearly knows there's something going on. So before this scene, we have that moment where he goes to him and basically tells him to pull his head in and stop, messing around. They don't ever make it very clear what they're
He says
talking about, but
discipline has
ultimately,
been lax amongst the
yeah,
men.
yeah. And so he's like, I'll take my men to go and hunt. And then he's that guard that goads Robin. And so it's not just that Robin's being goaded by a group of guards, he's goaded by a group of guards, and one of those guards has pent up frustration about that argument he just had. So
Right.
everything
Who is the
flows on to
captain of the
everything
sheriff's
else.
guard and the lover of the sheriff's daughter. Yeah.
Yeah, everything flows on really neatly, and so it's not just things happening for no reason. Except for when there's a logical reason, like Robin being young and full of chutzpah, like when he's saying, "You've killed the king's deer, you have to go," and he's like, "You have to pay me." It's like, just go. Like, don't fight about it. But it's believable because he's this angry, late teens
Well,
kid.
and he also just lost all of his money because it was just taken by Marion's father, Lord Huntington,
Hmm.
when he tried to offer it up as a dowry. Like try or he was
Right.
again as this very impulsive young man trying to say, Marion, run away with me. Here, Marion's father, here's some money, enough that I could make a life for the two of us. Or it could be the dowry if that's what works for you.
Mm,
And he just takes it and beats up Robin and he has to run off. But it means he
mm,
lost all of his money too. So he is desperate, also desperately
mm,
poor. And so that's why the like 5 pennies, goad means something to him.
mm. Yeah. It's great how, yeah, some things are a bit heavy-handed, but clearly they're trying to think of how all of these things relate to each other. So you're not just cutting like a an early 2010s sort of TV show where it just sort of randomly cut to what other characters are doing and then it'd come back again. It's trying to make sure that everything is related to each other in a way where it's not just interconnected in general, like Love
Mhm.
Actually, where everyone sort of knows everyone else sort of thing. It's a what happens for someone else has an actual impact on what's going to happen for this other group of characters, and there's this flow on from it. So it's all this one big world that's moving together, which is really
Yeah,
great.
I agree. I think there's the whole Christianity pagan thing aside, some good world building in that sort of way. I do
Mm,
think that there are a good number of scenes that feel really gratuitous and could have been cut out or shortened, like the whole baptism of the one Forrester who
mm,
betrayed Hugh, um, which was felt very weird, felt very unnecessary, felt like just another way for them to try to demonize Christianity. Um,
mm.
it and didn't feel like it was important for that character who is also a very minor character. Both of those characters, the Forester and the Bishop, they're both very minor. Didn't feel important for the story or for either of them.
Yeah, they could have combined this because I guess the whole thing is that he goes through this baptism so that he can then try and get his bribe money from Huntington for ratting out Hugh. But you could have combined those two because he's only doing it to get the reward. And so that scene on its own when he gets baptized just sort of, as you say, sort of highlights how sort of arbitrary it is, but it also doesn't do itself any favors by saying, you are now a Norman.
Yeah.
It's like,
Also,
you're not a
baptizing
Christian.
is apparently a form of waterboarding and how they do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. But saying that he's not just Christian, he's
A Norman.
of this area. It's a bit like if you were to make a movie now and there would be like an atheist character baptized and the priest goes, "You are now a Minnesotan." Like it doesn't work that way. It was very strange. So yeah, anything that they do with this Christianity thing, it sort of is to its own detriment in terms of how heavy-handed it is, but in that the internal logic still doesn't make sense because it's so firmly connected to Normans,
Hmm.
as if Normans were a group of people that were from a country and not from this one specific region of this
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
The fact that
From
in
a
the
from
first
a
episode,
duchy.
Huntington says, bro, yeah, the Huntington says he's betrayed Normandy. It's like, so you care that much about this one little place that you
Yeah,
were,
this province across the channel.
yeah, such a strange one. I think it's probably one of the first times we've ever heard the word Normandy said in a Robin Hood thing relative to Normans. But that just makes it so strange that they're clinging to this identity when it's just
Right.
a place.
And even weirder, just from a like historical perspective, because this is the period of the Angevin Empire, of which Normandy is just like, yeah, it's just a little chunk. Yeah, some of our ancestors
Mm,
are from there. Yeah.
mm. So it's, again, that makes it so strange that they've decided to split it this way when the drama's already there, both historically, but also like as far as constructing a narrative, because there's that complaint that comes against Richard all the time. It's like he only spent 3 months in England when he was king or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's because by and large, the early Norman slash Angevin kings just thought of England as one of their many
Yeah.
lands.
Yeah. He had
So
all
that,
these other, big important lands in France. Yeah.
yeah, so
And
that
what we
conflict
now
is
call
already
France.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need to exaggerate that, let alone exaggerate it through the roof like like they do here. It's that conflict is already there for you.
Well, we've barely touched on Marion, we've barely touched on Priscilla, and we barely touched on the sheriff played by Sean
Mm,
Bean.
mm. Where shall we start?
Well, Rachel, how did you feel about this Marion?
I like her. That's actually that would be one of the stronger elements for me.
Mm.
Um, I I just stand by what I was saying in the server earlier, where like I feel like they're trying to have it both ways, where they're trying to both set up the romance and then already have it established. I think it would have been better to do one or the other. Like if you don't want to bother setting it up, just don't set it up. Just be like they're a thing. Um, but one thing I am hopeful about there's a lot of stuff in the first two episodes that was not working for me, like pacing wise and like setup and payoffs. Um, it seems like it got to them like in the last 10 minutes, like it got to the point where they actually wanted to start. And so I'm hopeful that from there it's going to be fun because um I don't know. I'm not as my throat also hurts today. Um
Yeah, I like the Marion character. One thing I think would be interesting to explore, but I don't expect that they will, was a sort of interrogation, it's sort of an internal interrogation on her part on whether or not she was so quick to tell Rob, yes, I will go off and run off into the forest with you. How much of this was because of her love and affection for Rob, and how much of it was just looking for any excuse to get away from her terrible father.
Mm.
yeah. I was also noticing when I rewatched it last night that like she like flips it however long later, like then she goes back to say goodbye and is like, well, now I'm going to, I don't know. um
Yeah, she doesn't then reaffirm the offer. She doesn't say, come to
yeah, and
London
then
with
she's like,
me.
Yeah,
She's like, I'm going.
yeah.
yeah.
One of the
But
quibbles is how much the women in this show like go around unescorted. Not that like that's women obviously should be allowed to, just historically they didn't, not noble women.
Mm. I love that when she shows up at the house, everyone's just like, what are you doing? Why are you here? But that's what's nice is that it's clear that she's she's consciously breaking sort of rules because she's like, I hate this.
Yeah,
Like her dad goes find out where she is. Like so at least it's kind of like partially acknowledged of like she's gone. She's just left. And she kind of understands the danger of it as well. Like she's always looking back and she just goes, you know what, let's just stay here. Um which is my partner was like, this is very irresponsible because this wedding is going to get massacred. Like when they were like kissing behind the tree, I totally thought they were going to do that thing of like they're very close to it and then they don't because then the wedding gets attacked. But I like
right.
that it didn't. I like that they with Robin and Marion's relationship they don't string you along. They just sort of do it. And so I can totally understand why that might be a bit odd to do so quickly in the sense of not really establishing it that much before jumping into it. But I guess I'm a little pessimistic. And so it's like, if this doesn't get another season, I'm happy to have moments where Robin and Marion are just together instead of getting together in the last episode and that's it. So I hope there's,
Hmm.
another season. But when it comes to weighing up narrative decisions, it's like, well, this may not be the best in terms of evenly weighted narrative, but I'm happy to have that if it means that we get time with these characters doing the things that I want them to do, which is be in a relationship.
Yeah,
Be difficult because they're going to be
Mhm.
separated for a little while, presumably, but happy to have had it.
yeah. I mean, I think that's reasonable. I really like the, Adventures of Robin Hood show from the 50s. And obviously, that's very serialized. We're not telling narrative arcs with those. But it is nice that it just can have Robin and Marion being Robin and Marion together. And so, yeah, it is good to be able to look forward to getting some of that. I like that they have the character of Priscilla to be very much somebody who feels like a genuine friend to her while being so very
Mm.
different.
Yeah, I do like that they're friends.
I wish the actresses
That's
didn't look
very, yeah.
identical.
Yeah,
Yeah,
quite
I was
similar.
so confused. Like with her first scene, I was like, is Robin, is one of these Marion? I can't tell. I don't think so. Who are these people?
Yeah, it'd be so easy for them to, and that's what again it's that thing of there's the thing that they could do by convention and formula, but they go the other direction instead. So they could have a like it's not great in TV and film, but they do it all the time of having like friends who are friends but rivals because you can't have, women be friends. They
Hmm.
always have to you always have to pit them against each other. But they don't do that. They don't do that even when, Priscilla's talking about the things that she shouldn't really be doing. Marion's like, cool. So like, is that the guy that you're doing it with?
Right.
And Priscilla's like, yeah. Hey, did you do it with your boyfriend? She goes, no, he didn't.
Oh,
So
you're so
it's
boring. Yeah.
yeah. So it's nice that it's just nice having girlhood in a show about Robin Hood when there's usually only one woman in it. So it's nice that they're doubling down by not only having more than one, but they have a positive relationship with each other.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't
And
pass
I,
the
The
test, but it's
relationship,
still there.
the relationship between Priscilla and her father is also interesting to me.
it
Mm.
is,
Seems to
yes.
have a decent amount of respect for her, which is it's just interesting to see. There's
Yeah.
not been a whole lot yet with that, but
Yeah. I thought
Mm.
Priscilla's line when she saw that Marion had been beaten by her father was, if my father ever did that to me, I would poison him, and he knows it, was a really interesting line.
Mm. And not a thing of
yeah,
threat to her
I
father,
enjoyed
but a
that.
thing of like acknowledging that they have a good relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very I wonder if they're setting up a sort of Merlin style thing because she, has that sort of premonition in the first episode. I wonder if it'll be
That's
that thing where she starts to lean
That was
towards
odd.
the paganism, but she has to do it secretly so her dad doesn't find out. It's like Morgana and Uther in Merlin.
I wouldn't put it past this show. It's hard to say. Like, they're being a little subtle.
Mm,
I was just talking about how the show was not subtle with the religious elements, but they are actually being subtle with the magical elements.
mm,
Because there are hints of like magic being real, like Priscilla having this premonition in a dream about Joan, Robin's mother, seeing go to the
mm,
ferry when she dies, but this is also just her dying. That you get the
mm.
sort of lineage story about you get the, like, what was it? I forget the Viking's name, but
I think they've said
he
it
got
a
turned
few
into a
different ways.
deer. And there's a moment when Robin is out hunting with the Gamwells and he sees a deer and is just like, no, we can't kill this one. Like,
Mm,
there's like these hints that there might be some mystical thing going on, but they're not being overt with it. And that I actually kind of like.
mm. Yeah, it'd be a shame if they, well, not a shame, but it would be a bit disappointing if they, lift the veil and make it very clear. Because it's a nice way of saying here are a group of people that are trying to remain connected to their culture. And because when it comes to religion, it's really difficult to, have an argument with someone who truly believes in it because it's so much about experience, personal experience. And so if they're going down that route, it'd be really good if they can show characters being influenced by their religion, but not necessarily then having, a character pop up, take a photo of it and show it to other people. Like it doesn't need to be firmly real for those people to have experienced it.
Yeah.
And so, like, it'd be great if Rob, because there's a scene in the trailer where Rob's in the cave that his dad mentions, and that just, gives full, Robin of Sherwood vibes with her and the hunter in his cave. So
Hmm.
it'd be one thing for Rob to go through some sort of spiritual experience, which I think they're clearly setting up for him to be the inheritor of, this tradition. But it'd be another thing, I
Become
think,
the
for them to
hooded
be
man.
yeah, but I think it'd be another thing for like Goddard to show up to like in front of the sheriff or in front of Huntington or something and sort of show up for people that figure doesn't belong to.
Hmm.
Because that would then be a little bit too far. Like Robin of Sherwood did push that a little bit too far at times when you've got, Nazir in a room with the Christian conception of Lucifer. And so it's like, does he not question everything his whole life? You've got that wonderful bit in Lord of the Trees where Edward says to them, "Oh, Herne protect you," and then Freytag goes, "Oh, and God as well." So it's
Right.
like, is every God real in this universe, or is one God real in this universe? And so
It
with this
seems to be
show,
all of them.
yeah. And so in this show, they're clearly setting up for Robin to have some sort of spiritual relationship or journey with this pagan, quote unquote, religion. But the
Hmm.
question of whether that overrides the Norman's religion is a totally different thing, and the implications of that narratively would be very difficult. Because again, how do you reconcile these two things that are inherently irreconcilable? You're sort of setting yourself up for just perpetual conflict.
It's also a weird choice to, say, here's this totally like made up thing that we have, and it overrides this thing that many people really do believe, including many
Mm,
of our viewers. Um,
mm,
like that would be a choice for sure.
mm.
But again,
Especially
we'll
when,
we'll see like what happens when Tuck comes into the show.
yeah, like Tuck will be the thing that will either be someone who is, you know, tolerant and that's it, or there's something a bit more going on with trying to knit the two traditions together. I think they might do a Olivia de Havilland thing with Marion and have her sort of be stuck in her ways, but then sort of uh, what's the phrase? Like decoupling is the
Mm,
idea where you sort of start to disentangle yourself from the systems that you've been put into. So I think Marion might be going on a similar sort of journey in this show. But Tuck is, I'm really excited to see what they do with Tuck because they've established a lot really, really quickly. And
yeah,
so how Tuck will factor in will be really, really big.
yeah. Um, how do people feel about Sean Bean? We get a
What's
shrug
wrong
from
with
Rachel.
him?
I
He's
think this is
fine.
one of the,
I'm on record as like having fan casted Sean Bean as the Sheriff of Nottingham before this show ever got announced.
it's sort of dream casting in a
Yeah,
way. Or just
exactly.
have hit that accent in a Robin Hood project seems like the most logical thing you could do, and it's been 50 years and no one's done it. Um, I think I read somewhere that he was up for Robin of Sherwood when Michael Praed left, but I think that would just be a wishful thinking sort of thing.
Yeah, that gets it. I was talking about that a little bit in our recording for the Prince of
Mm,
Thieves movie because there's like, especially once you get into the 80s and 90s and beyond, whenever there's some kind of project that's like, oh, people want to attach names to this, and
yeah.
how much of it's speculation, how much of it is real, how much of it is an agent trying to like throw out an actor's name to make it sound like they were a hotter commodity. Like it becomes almost impossible to like really dig down into.
Mm, but we finally got him. But
That's the
I
thing
like
is,
that. Sorry.
I mean, he's good, but I wasn't expecting him to not be good. So like, I didn't think about it a whole lot. I was just like, although I was because I haven't really followed his career. I'm like, wow, he's so old. He's so old now because I'm
Mm.
used to Lord of the Rings. We watch Lord of the Rings a lot. But
Yeah, I was surprised at
yeah, I thought he
how
was good.
they've aged. I think that comes from the script as well. Like they getting him to play a bit older than the sheriff maybe sometimes is. I think this is probably the first sheriff, or at least in a long while, where the actor says beforehand, "Oh, I've tried to make him all real to be like a guy just doing a tough job." This is kind of the only one where that's sort of believable as a way of conceiving the character because you do sort of buy him as just a guy who is, maybe a little bit overbearing and certainly unnecessarily violent as part of his culture. But you do
Mhm.
see that he is genuinely just a guy doing a job. He hates the Earl of Huntington.
Yeah.
I loved that establishing of Huntington before you even see him, of Priscilla being like, why is he coming here? And the sheriff's like, I have to see him.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting because the sheriff of Nottingham isn't our villain. He's a villain. He's certainly not a hero, but he's not the antagonist. That is
Yeah.
much more the Earl of
Antagonist.
Huntington, who both is the one that like was responsible for taking Hugh of Locksley's land and holding on to it, and was behind Hugh getting murdered, or getting framed for murder so he would be killed, and also thrown in prison for treason. There was a lot of wheels going on right there, but he was involved and is a bad guy, and also beats his daughter. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, like he is the
The best.
bad guy in this show, and the sheriff
Yeah.
is just a guy, not a good guy, but just a guy.
He's just a guy. Um, but he's got this really great aloofness to him that really makes you buy that he's just doing a job. Because there's the thing of dialogue sort of indicating that he's just an administrator, but in the back of his head, he's vying for power or whatever. But then they have the scene where he's talking to Huntington by the fire, and he's just sort of like wiping his nose on his handkerchief. He's just sort of, he seems physically a bit at least aloof, but possibly even frail. They might be trying to play up,
Hmm.
but the fact that he's just genuinely just a guy doing a job, and he happens to be aligned with the antagonist, I think is an interesting way of doing the sheriff, to have him not really invested in much.
Yeah, actually, now that you mention it, kind of shades of Mark Shaw's Sheriff of Nottingham from Robin and Marion.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. A guy who's just happy to see through his day doing his
Yeah,
admin.
yeah, and obviously in that, Sean Connery's Robin and that sheriff were peers in a way, and had this personal dynamic and were of an age with each other, whereas this is a sheriff who
Mm,
is much older than Robin, so he's never going to have that sort of dynamic and relationship with him.
mm. Like even when he shows up to the hunt and he sees Hugh, he seems like he's not like happy to see him like a pal, but he's like, Hugh of Locksley, nice to see you. Like
Yeah, I recognize that guy.
he's amiable in a genuine way rather than just being a placating sort of way.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a role
yeah.
that really plays to Sean Bean's strengths,
Mm,
playing this guy who's not a good guy, but just kind of doing their job. Um,
Not an
mm.
evil person either.
He's not twiddling his mustache. He just has one.
yeah. Um,
Yeah, I don't mind
Sean
at
Bean is
all
very good
that
at,
we have a different villain.
sorry, what's that?
Mm,
I don't mind at all that we have kind of a different villain. Um, I, I like that he's on Robin's land. Um, I thought, well, maybe they'll still do something with Marion. I like that Marion is on his land whenever that Instagram thing about Meet Marion dropped or something when I found that
mm,
out. That is really interesting to me. I'm not sure how much they're going to do with it, but and those
mm,
being interrelated, I like that.
mm.
Well, we should wrap up the discussion pretty quick. I do need to complain though about the plethora of dead mothers, because that
Joan,
does
oh my
genuinely
gosh.
bother me.
But at least they have a
Um,
face.
for one of for well, two
At least
of
we've
them,
seen them. We've
but
seen them.
well, we don't see Priscilla's mother,
I really felt
where she just presumably is dead because we never see her, and she seems to be being raised entirely by her father.
Mm.
Um, we're told that Will's mother is dead. Um, and then we get one flashback scene with Marion's mother in the process of dying of tuberculosis, it seems. Uh,
Consumption.
yeah, consumption. And which is in the same episode in which Robin's mother
Robin's
dies
mom dies.
of
It's too much.
She
of
has lost the will
sad,
to live.
you know. And Robin's father is the one who gets unjustly murdered. Robin's mother dies because she's sad about it. And
Yeah, it really felt like they just wanted her out of there. Like they're like, I don't know what to do with this lady. We gotta kill her off. It's
yeah,
weird.
Mm.
that they killed off Robin's mother, and and then and also like every other character, like also dead mom. It's like yeah, like lots of people
Unless when
died in
Ghost,
pregnancy in the Middle Ages, but
yeah,
this is pretty ridiculous.
unless when Goddess shows up, she looks like his mum.
Yeah.
She becomes the new god.
Um, Mostly I just need to highlight it because it's egregious because it's so many dead moms.
Mm.
And it feels needless and it just bothers me. It is something that lowered the show in my estimation.
Even if she was just like a little bit sick in the first episode and this tipped the scale, that would be
Yeah.
tolerable compared to just that she died.
Yeah, just all of a sudden she's dead now. Yeah. She's now
Yeah.
she's just super sick and dies.
It should be great because like we've never seen a Robin with a family that he was not the father of. We've never had him have that concern because obviously that's like one of the big things with Marion in just to compare to the most recent medieval TV show. Marion's whole story in the first, season and a half of the BBC show is she has to do the things that she wants to do, but she's kind of anchored by how that will impact her father, and that's kind of her major story, separate to her relationship with Robin and Gisborne, is how she's
Mhm.
going to manage those things. And we've never had a Robin who is remotely involved in family matters apart from the odd, half brother or missing brother. It's always male young relatives that sort of pop up towards the end. But we've never had a Robin that has a family connection that is one of the reasons that or one of the things that he needs to factor into what
Yeah.
he does. And so it's just a bit of a shame that that gets dropped and maybe Gamwell will take that over. But then at the same time, it's like, well, why is it a male character? Why is it a male family member that gets this story when he has a perfectly healthy mother?
Yeah, I think it would have been really interesting to have this element of, oh, like, oh no, I have unjustly lost my father. He has been murdered by the system, as it were. Um,
Mm,
Now I need to like help take care of my mother, but I'm trying to process my own grief and rage. Okay, I'm kind of getting a handle on my grief and rage like he is by the end of the episode. But oh
mm,
no, then this other thing happens where I end up killing this guardsman and going on the run and becoming an outlaw. Now I'm dealing with this separation of this mother figure who I'm now separated. So I've lost my father because he's been killed, but I've also lost my mother because of my outlawry.
mm,
I think there could have been a really interesting dynamic to play with there. Um, but no,
mm,
she's just dead, dead of sad,
mm. But that happens.
like Padme, dead of
Like,
sad.
she's lost the will to live.
Uh,
So, what do we think we'll be seeing this weekend? What next? Episode 3.
I think we're gonna get some learning to survive in the forest scenes. I think we'll get our Will Scarlet and Marion introduced to Eleanor of Aquitaine and court life in London scenes.
Mm. Really looking forward to seeing Eleanor
I hope
and how
she's
they
not
handle her.
evil.
No.
I was so excited that she's in this show, and I'm like, is she gonna be evil? I wouldn't like that.
I
There's
could
also,
see them going either way.
yeah, I can see her being dead in the center where she's
If
like
she's
not evil,
more
but she's,
ambiguous, yeah,
yeah,
that would be okay.
happy,
I'm a
happy to
little
service
worried,
whoever needs to.
like if they make her actually actively evil, then I would be upset. But she can be in the middle.
Mm.
I am certainly excited to see what they do next. I'm excited that ooh, now we've gotten our pieces where we want them to be. Robin's
Mm.
going to be an outlaw now, and so he's
Gonna
going to have to
stumble
figure
across
out
the
how to
little
live as an
jungle in the
outlaw,
woods.
and he's going to have to figure out his purpose now.
Mm.
Going to have to meet some other outlaws.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I'm
didn't even
curious if
think
he's
about
going
it.
to run into a bunch of other people.
Yeah, like John. We've had 2 episodes of a Robin Hood show, and John is nowhere.
Yeah, no Little John.
Yeah,
Will
so
they do the
gonna tell me
thing that is very common in film adaptations where Little John is already the leader of an outlaw band?
Hmm. Um.
I don't like when he takes over a different band. That's like that bugs me.
It's not my favorite either.
No.
The 55 television series, that one handles it really well, but most of the time it's not handled well, and I don't like it.
Yeah, there's just no reason for it.
Yeah.
Um. It'd be interesting to see when uh the different outlaw pieces come together as a group because at the moment they're all sort of disparate. So like Will is far away from anyone else. John isn't in it yet, but presumably he's kind of on his. I'm assuming he'll be on his own just for reasons. But then Spraggett, everyone's favorite outlaw hero, Spraggett.
Well known.
Um,
Well known
he's
character from the
he's
ballads.
gonna pop up again at some point, presumably because he has his own character poster. So he'll be, and he's in bits and pieces of the trailer. So it'll be interesting to see how he
Which
comes
one
back
is
in as
that?
someone. So he was the guy who Robin shot through the hand, and Hugh's downfall was because he let him go. Um, so it'll be
Oh,
interesting to
oh,
see if he sort of feels like
yeah.
he owes Robin something for
He
running
still
from the
survives, I
fight.
guess.
Yeah, how he escaped, don't know. But yeah, presumably he'll be on his way soon.
Yeah,
Well, I guess
and it. Okay.
the Huntington's um guard guys said that they would help them escape if they got Hugh in trouble or killed or whatever. So maybe that.
Mm.
Yeah. Um,
Mm.
yeah, well, I am excited to see it. As we were saying, like this is cl clearly a show with flaws, but that doesn't make it a bad show.
Mm. Yeah, it's
Also, a lot of first episodes aren't very good.
Yeah.
That's the norm, is that the first episodes aren't great compared to most of the other.
it's
It's
like
true.
one big hurdle, but in the grand scheme of the show, it's pretty minor. It's just that it is physically very large, but it doesn't preclude all the other stuff that they've done to set up the characters because all the individual characters and their you know projected journeys are really compelling, I think.
Yeah.
So really excited to see.
Hmm.
They feel like real people, which is, more than we could ask for in the current media landscape of just sort of putting out any old thing. But even little things like there's those characters that have a single line where the way that they're delivered just sort of gives away how they feel about things. Like little things like the guard that pushes Robin back from the scaffold says, "No, you only make it worse." If this was 2006, he'd be like, "You'll only make it worse." He'll be goading him or something, but he says it like compassionately. So it's just that little way that single lines get said that then reveal the way that characters feel about what's going on that is doesn't need to be there, but it is there because they want you to feel like this is a place where people have opinions about what's going on around them. So really
Yeah.
excited to see how all the other characters then come into that, having that level of amalgamation into the story.
Yeah. Some minor characters like Gamwell's second wife, like Marion's brothers, you know.
Like Bernard,
Yeah, I
the
really
steward.
Yeah.
I really like Matilda, the Gamel's second wife.
Mm.
It was actually I one of the things I really liked is she does like she swears by whatever that guy in the woods is
Yeah.
that didn't exist, and then immediately crosses herself. And I liked that combination with her. Um,
Mm.
that felt more because like there was some of that with
Yeah.
like stuff getting mixed up in that way, and that felt a lot better to me. But anyway,
Mm.
I like her. Um, that part was specifically fun, but I just like her in general too.
Mm.
Uh yeah. So mostly good stuff. Again, lots of things that one could quibble with. I didn't even bring up the whole Robin shooting on the right side of the bow thing. That's a whole other discussion. Doesn't need to be getting into. Thanks for jumping on and discussing the show. I'm looking forward to hearing everybody's thoughts as we go on.
Thank you.
Also, great shirt, Rachel. Very appropriate.
Thank you.
All right. Enjoy your Wednesday, Will, and have a good night, Rachel. I
See you
need
guys.
I need to get to bed.
Bye.
Night.
Bye.